EVO.
Pie in the Sky Media. This series contains adult language and descriptions of graphic violence throughout. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome back to Criminal Mischief with Carolyn and Brandon. You're listening to episode 163, The Road Trip.
T-Dog, what happened, dude? So I'm driving, yeah? And I'm hauling it up this hill and crap. And I said to myself, here, man, you can go up this crap too. Oh, wait, hold on. So I'm going like 80, 90 miles an hour, one leg up like that, and hit this little ridge. Did a barrel roll like Top Gun, dude, like Maverick style. Thing fell, landed on me. Didn't break a thing because I'm unbreakable like Bruce Willis.
That's Travis Alexander. And sadly, as it would turn out, he wasn't invincible. It was around 10 p.m. on June 9th, 2008, when three friends converged on a house on a quiet street in a suburb of Mesa, Arizona. This is where their friend, Travis Alexander, lived, in a stucco-style two-story on Queensboro Avenue. The three were concerned about their friend, 30-year-old Travis Alexander. Now, Travis was a successful insurance salesman, and he had an active social life, and yet no one had heard from him for days. Mimi, one of these friends, was desperate to get a hold of him because Travis had invited her to go with him on a work trip. They were scheduled to fly to Cancun the very next day. And another thing, Travis was an extremely hard worker, and he'd missed an important conference call for work on June 4th, 5 days ago. And he still wasn't returning anyone's phone calls or emails or texts. So that night, the trio pounded on Travis's front door, but no one answered. Not even one of his two roommates, Zach or Enrique, came to the door, which technically wasn't really that much of a surprise. The three led really busy lives. Zach and Enrique just rented rooms from Travis, and they didn't often engage. They could go days without seeing each other in passing. So, since no one was answering the door, Travis's friends waited outside of Travis's home, and they just began calling around to see if they could somehow find a friend or someone in their network that had the 4-digit code to access Travis's garage. And they did. They put in that code, and the garage door opened, and that's when they were shocked to find Travis's black Prius parked inside. From the garage, they went into the house, and that's where they found Travis's dog, Napoleon. He was furiously barking. Clearly he was upset. But where was Travis? They started walking upstairs to where the bedrooms were, and that's when they were overcome by a horrendous, foul smell. The first bedroom to the left, at the top of the stairs, was Travis's, and they knocked on the door, but no one answered. And when they turned the door handle to go inside, they discovered that it was locked. The three continued walking down the hall, and they knocked on another roommate's bedroom. And he answered the door, surprised to see them there. And he said, hey, he hadn't seen Travis in days, which wasn't a surprise to him because he knew that Travis had taken a trip to Cancun. But of course, Mimi knew that couldn't be true because she had plans to go on that trip with Travis, and she hadn't heard from him since June 2nd, a week before. So the roommate looked around the house, and he was able to find the key to Travis's room. And he and one of the other guys opened the door and entered Travis's bedroom. And right away, they noticed a huge pool of blood on the carpet, following a trail of blood that led them to the master bathroom. Inside, there was blood everywhere. They peered into the open shower stall, and that's where they found Travis, slumped inside.
What's going on? A friend of ours is dead in his bedroom. We hadn't heard from him for a while. We think he's dead. His roommate just went in there and said there's lots of blood. I didn't go in, but I can give you the phone to someone who went in there. Yes, please, can you?
Hello.
Hi, so what's going on?
He's dead. He's in his bedroom.
Okay.
In the shower.
Okay. How did this happen? Do you have any idea?
No, we have no idea. Everyone's been wondering about him for a few days.
She said that there was blood. So is it coming from his head? Did he cut his head?
It's all over the place.
Is there any weapons around?
I don't know. Not that I saw.
How many people are in the house?
How many are in the house right now? Just the 5 of us? 5 of us.
Okay, I need all of you outside.
Okay.
You're a good friend of Travis's, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has he been depressed at all? Thinking about committing suicide, anything like that?
I don't think he's been thinking of committing suicide. He's been really depressed because he broke up with this girl, and he was all upset about that. But I don't think he would actually kill himself over that.
Has he been threatened by anyone recently?
Yes, he has.
Okay.
He has an ex-girlfriend that's been bothering him and following him and slashing tires and things like that.
And do you know the ex-girlfriend's name?
Yeah. What's his ex-girlfriend's name? Taylor.
And do you know if he's ever reported it to the police?
Her name is Jodi. I don't know if he's ever reported. Hold on. Yeah. Ask her if he's ever reported Jodi to the police. Like, it's what Travis did. No, he hasn't reported anything about Jodi's behavior.
The roommate. When was the last time he saw Travis? Was it 3 days ago?
Yeah. You guys, when was the last time you guys saw Zach? Travis. They want to know what's from the roommate.
Last time I saw him was, last Thursday or Friday?
The last time I remember seeing him was last Thursday. When was that? Mimi saw him last Tuesday, or last Monday. She talked to him last Monday.
Okay. And everyone is out of the house. There's no one else in the house?
No one's in the house.
I didn't go in, but from what I heard, his roommate went in. There's blood in his bedroom, behind the door, and then he said it's all over. And then they went in the bathroom, and he's in his shower. His bedroom is where in the house? It's upstairs, and if you go up the stairs, it's on the left. It's the first door on your left. It's the only door on your left. Okay. And it's just a big master suite bedroom up there. And she's talking to his friend right now. There's a girl that's been stalking him, and he's trying to, he might know some information.
So police arrived at Travis's home at around 10:30 that night and secured the crime scene. They walked through Travis's bedroom, past that pool of blood on the carpet, down the hall, and into a horrific crime scene. That bathroom was drenched in blood on the floor, the walls splattered in the sink area, and there were bloody drag marks on the carpet. A cursory glance at the body revealed that Travis's throat had been slashed from ear to ear. They also noticed that the crime scene appeared to have been staged. For one, because of those drag marks, it was obvious that the body had been dragged from the pool of blood at the inside door of the bedroom where he bled out, and that someone had pulled him back into the shower stall after he'd been murdered. The killer had also taken the time to rinse the blood from his body and left him in the shower. It was clear from the state of Travis's body that he had put up a heroic fight. He had defense wounds on his hands, as if he had tried to grab onto the knife, trying to get it away from the killer. But there was also a spent .25 caliber casing, which had been recovered from the bathroom floor near the sink. However, neither murder weapon, either the gun or the knife that was used to kill Travis Alexander, was ever recovered from the home. And another thing, the killer had taken the time to strip the bedding from Travis's bed. Investigators found this bedding in the downstairs laundry room. The sheets had been washed and were in the dryer. But even more interesting, in the washing machine, tangled up in some clothing, they discovered a digital camera. Now, it was clear the camera had been run through a wash cycle and was completely destroyed. It would never take another picture again. But the SD memory card was still intact, and it was sent to the lab to see if they could somehow recover those photos. But that would take some work. And in the meantime, Travis's cell phone was recovered in his downstairs office. The last call that Travis responded to on his phone was at 12:13 p.m. on June 4th, 5 days before. There were no other calls made or answered from Travis's phone after that. Another thing, Travis had missed that extremely important work conference call that same day. June 4th at 7 p.m. was when it was scheduled. So that was really the window of time that investigators initially had to go from. So around lunchtime to 7 p.m. on June 4th, 5 days before he was found by his friends. During autopsy, it was determined that Travis had sustained 27 stab wounds and was shot in the head with a .25 caliber gun, in addition to having his throat slit from ear to ear. Now, as detectives waited for the collective evidence to be processed, of course they looked into the one person that Travis's friends and family were convinced from the beginning that they needed to speak with his obsessive ex, Jodi Arias. So Travis Alexander was 29 when he met 26-year-old Jodi Arias in September of 2006 at a work conference in Las Vegas. Jodi was an aspiring photographer who had grown up in Wairika in Northern California. She supplemented her income as a waitress and had also gotten a job working for the same insurance company as Travis. The attraction between the two was instant. Travis was charming, he was successful in business, and was just fun to be around and had tons of friends. He was also a devout Mormon who eventually wanted to settle down with a woman who shared his same values. Even though Jodi wasn't Mormon, she was open to the idea of converting to Mormonism. And by February 2007, Jodi and Travis began dating. It was a long-distance relationship. They communicated a lot through phone conversations, texts, and emails. She even at one point came to stay with Travis in his home. But the relationship was tumultuous from the beginning, and the two eventually broke it off in June of 2007 after 5 months. But even after the breakup, Jodi didn't let go. In fact, she moved to Mesa, Arizona, very near where Travis lived. And even though they had broken up, Travis continued to have premarital sex with Jodi. Their sexual relationship had become all-consuming. Erotic text messages and hot and steamy, fantastical sexual liaisons. Jodi was willing to do anything for Travis. She even converted to his religion. But Travis wasn't interested in marrying Jodi. And the reality, according to Travis, was that being with her in a sexual relationship was a violation of his religion because he broke the law of chastity. The tenets of the Mormon religion are very clear. Having sex before marriage is not only forbidden, but it could actually lead to eternal damnation if the sinner doesn't repent before death. But Jodi wasn't willing to let go. She kept coming around his house uninvited. It was alleged that she would gain access by crawling through a doggy door. And Travis's friends were concerned. They felt that she was creepy and thought it was weird that she was the type of person who would befriend any new woman in Travis's life. At some point, his tires were slashed, and he told friends that he believed Jodi was responsible, that she was stalking him. But what he wasn't telling them was that he was leading a double life. Even though he'd broken up with Jodi in June of 2007, and in the community, he presented himself to be a good Mormon, that he was still a virgin, so he could attract, quote, good Mormon young women that might potentially be interested in marrying him. But secretly, he was still having wild sex with Jodi, had no plans to marry her, and even though he knew that she was completely obsessed with him, that she used sex to manipulate him. And his friends let him know that they were concerned about Jodi's disturbing stalking behavior. But he would tell them that every time he tried to break it off with her, she'd threaten to kill herself. Travis experienced some relief in April of 2008 when Jodi packed up and moved back to Wairika, the small town where she was from in Northern California, which is where she was living when she got a call on June 10th. The day after Travis's body was found. It was a Mesa, Arizona detective who wanted to know when was the last time she'd seen Travis Alexander. By then, of course, she had learned that he had been murdered, and she told them she hadn't seen Travis in 2 months since she'd packed up and left Mesa. She also said that she had nothing to do with his murder, but she did admit that they had a tumultuous 5-month relationship that had ended because of jealousies on both sides. And she was very candid about her ongoing secret sexual relationship with Travis. But the last time she talked to him over the phone was on June 3rd, the day before he was murdered, but she was on a road trip heading to Utah for a work conference, nowhere near Arizona. Because this was just the beginning of the investigation and the crime scene evidence was still being processed, the detective said, "Goodbye, thank you for talking to me," and that was it. However, 13 days after Travis's murder, Jodi went to the Mesa Police headquarters and volunteered to give an interview, her fingerprints, and a DNA sample. Again, she claimed to know nothing about his murder and that she didn't have anything to do with his death, all while flirting with the investigator.
Regardless of what the Bible says, and yes, I'm Christian, I just live my life by the 10 Commandments, and those are my rules. You know, thou shalt not this or that, but it doesn't say thou shalt not fornicate. So I just used to joke about that.
But it was after the investigator left the room that something unexpected happened. By herself, in the interrogation room, Jodi suddenly stands from her chair and then proceeds to do a headstand against the wall in the room and began to laugh and sing, all while knowing there was a camera recording her every move.
He knows our name in the angel voices. Night divine, all night, when Christ was born, all night.
2 days after this bizarre interview, investigators received deleted images from Travis's digital camera, the one recovered from the washing machine, that Jodi most likely wasn't expecting. You see, there was a feature inside Travis's new camera that embedded the date and time into the file, or each photograph, literally to the second. And through a series of photos, investigators now had a timeline of Jodi and Travis's last sexual hookup. According to this photo timeline, Jodi showed up at Travis's house in the early morning hours on June 4th. The first image was of Jodi lying naked on Travis's bed, posing for the picture. There were other photos taken with Travis's new camera, multiple ones of Jodi and a couple of Travis posing nude in sexually provocative poses. Now, obviously the photos were consensual, extremely salacious, especially under the glaring lights of the police headquarters. So these photos take place around 1-ish in the afternoon, and then there's another series of photos between 5:22 and 5:29 p.m., where Jodi is photographing Travis taking a shower. In this series, there's an eerie photo of Travis standing in the shower, and he's looking straight into the camera as water droplets drip from his face. He stares into the lens. His lips are closed, he's not smiling, and his eyes are intense. This is the last consensual picture that Jodi Arias took of Travis, totally vulnerable, naked in the shower. 2 minutes after that last photo, where I described him looking into the lens, having no idea he's about to be murdered. Because at 5:31, there's a photo of the bathroom ceiling and a light. It's clear that the camera had been dropped onto the bathroom floor, and Travis's murder is being documented as the camera continues to click photographs. At 5:32, there's an image of Travis on the floor, bleeding from the neck, and in the background, you can see what appeared to be a woman's foot and her pant leg. Obviously, the date and time of the pictures was consistent with the date and time of Travis's murder, and powerful evidence that Jodi lied about the last time she'd seen Travis. Remember, she'd told police that the last time she'd physically been around Travis was 2 months before, and the photographs also proved that she was the last person to have had contact with Travis prior to his death. Police contacted Jodi again and asked her if she would go over her road trip to Utah in more detail. She claimed she'd left California on June 3rd and traveled to Salt Lake City alone for a conference, that it took over 48 hours to complete the trip, and that for 20 of those hours, her phone was off because it had died. She said that she didn't get to Salt Lake City until June 5th, that she went to the conference with a friend, and then left for home that night. What she didn't know was that in the following days, the testing results of more evidence was coming back. Investigators had found a latent print left on the bathroom wall in blood, which had been identified as matching Jodi's left palm. And the crime lab also determined that the bloody handprint was a mixture of DNA from two individuals, Travis and Jodi. And another thing, there was also a hair recovered. It had stuck to the bloody wall in the hallway, and it belonged to Jodi. Jodi came back for another interview with police, where again, she claimed she had nothing to do with Travis's murder. That is, until the investigator explained all the evidence they had against her.
I was not at Travis's house.
You were at Travis's house. You guys had a sexual encounter, which there's pictures. I know you know there's pictures because I have them. I will show them to you. So what I'm asking you is for you to be honest with me. I know you were there.
Are you sure those pictures aren't from another time?
Positive. There's so much evidence in that house, and it all points to you.
I lived there. I was there for months and months and months.
Your hair was blood at the scene. Your left palm print at the scene. In blood.
Well, I can explain the blood and the hair. I don't know about my left palm print.
How can you explain the blood in that?
Well, because I used to bathe in the Napoleon all the time. And,
You haven't been there since April. And this hair was not just a hair. This hair was stuck with blood at the time it got stuck where it ended up. We have DNA matching that hair too.
okay, I know, but
And that hair had a follicle on it. And that means that hair wasn't there very long. The follicle will usually dissipate and go away after a certain time. You cannot explain that away. You either had blood on your hand and you touched the wall, or there was blood on the wall and you touched the blood.
could my palm print have already been there and I touched it?
Jodi, this is over. You need to tell me the truth.
Listen, the truth is I did not hurt Travis.
If you want, I can show you some pictures of him. Do you want to see pictures of him?
Part of me does and part of me doesn't.
Why? Because you don't want to remember?
No, I
Jodi.
just, there's a morbid curiosity.
Jodi,
I wanted to know how he died.
we can keep playing these games over and over again. I'm not going to believe you. When
Okay.
you start telling me the truth, then I can believe you. But I can't deny this evidence. I can't. The trip you took doesn't make sense. The opportunity was there. Your pictures on that date with him, your blood is in the house, mixed with his. Mixed. Not alongside, but mixed. Your hair is there with blood, and your palm print is there in blood.
Listen,
It's over.
The next day, Jodi's story changed. In this version, she said that she had been at Travis's house when two masked intruders broke in, killed Travis, and that she had fled the home and had been too afraid to go to the police to report what had happened because these intruders had threatened her and her family if she told anyone.
What was the first
I
thing you
actually
said?
didn't see it. I heard it.
You're telling me that some other people were there. You know how much that concerns me.
I don't know. They got my address and they know where my family is. Sorry.
So you're trying to say you're doing this to protect your family? Why would someone do this to you and to him?
I don't think they really intended to do anything to me.
You tell me this, but you give me no reason.
They didn't discuss much. They just argued
About what?
about whether or not to kill me
For what reason?
because I'm a witness.
Jodi was arrested in July of 2008 for Travis's murder. Immediately after her arrest, she organized her own press conference inside the jail, proclaiming her innocence. In September of 2008, she gave an interview with Inside Edition. This interview would come back to haunt her.
I understand that everything, all of the evidence against me right now is very compelling.
What really happened in there?
In a nutshell, 2 people took Travis's life, 2 monsters.
You did not shoot Travis.
No, I've never even shot a real gun.
You did not stab him 27 times.
That's heinous.
Or
I've never.
slit his throat from ear to ear.
I can't imagine slitting anyone's throat.
4.5 years after Travis's death, Jodi Arias went on trial for his first-degree murder. The prosecution was seeking the death penalty, But by then, Jodi's story had changed for a third time. Her new defense? She had killed Travis, but it was in self-defense. This new revelation made an already high-profile trial into a media sensation. The salacious details of Travis's brutal murder, as well as Jodi's efforts to garner attention through these sensational interviews, and the entire trial was live-streamed. People just couldn't get enough of this case. The explicit and graphic details, they wanted to know everything in gory detail. Then prosecutor Juan Martinez.
This is not a case of whodunit. The person who done it, the person who committed this killing, sits in court today. It's the defendant, Jodi Arias. And the person that she done it to is an individual by the name of Travis Victor Alexander, a former boyfriend of hers, an individual that she was in love with, an individual that was a good man, an individual that was one of the greatest blessings in her life. And this love, well, she rewarded that love for Travis Victor Alexander by sticking a knife in his chest. And you know, he was a good man, according to her. And with regard to being a good man, well, she slit his throat as a reward for being a good man. And in terms of these blessings, well, she knocked the blessings out of him by putting a bullet in his head during one event that occurred on June 4th of 2008.
And the details of their day of steamy sex, which was the penultimate chapter in their secret, forbidden affair, captured for all to see on his new digital camera. Just before Jodi Arias brutally and sadistically murdered Travis Alexander.
So the police now know what happened. They know that on June 4th of 2008, starting around in the afternoon, sometime after 1 o'clock, the defendant is there with Mr. Alexander. Even though they've broken up, even though she's in Wairika, somehow she's there in his house in Mesa, Arizona. They know that they engage in what is clearly one of the normal things of our species, and that's sexual intercourse. They enjoyed themselves. Yes, from a religious perspective, both of them were sinning. But she's there, and if she's there from Wairika, she took 1,000 miles to get to that sinning. Then we know that at 5:30-ish, later on, he's in the shower. They know that whatever's going on, his defenses are down, he's very comfortable. We also know then that as he sat there, she took the knife and began to stab him when he was in that defenseless sitting position and began and stuck the knife in his chest. He struggled, grabbed the knife, and when he grabbed the knife, of course that resulted in more blood. But since he's not going to die immediately, he's going to die from the loss of blood, and he hasn't lost consciousness, he began to go around the bathroom and ends up at the sink, hunched over. We know that he receives a lot of stab wounds to the back, and they're grouped, and also to his head. We know that he was stationary at that point when he gets to that sink. So, we don't know exactly where, but it could be, it's consistent with him then being stabbed at that point as he continues to bleed out. And this bleeding out process is not immediate. He can speak, he can talk, blood may be flowing from his mouth, but he can still make noises, he can still move, until he starts to lose strength. We know that, we can say at least, that it's consistent with him then trying to get away when he got as far as here, the entry to the major part of the bedroom. And we know that because of the photographs that we have. And we also know because of the big blotch of blood that's there. And that's where the slitting ear to ear took place. He was still alive at that point. That's why there's so much blood. Because when you die, the medical examiner will tell you, you can do whatever you want to the body, but if you're already dead, there's not going to be this spurting of blood. So he was still alive then. We also know that that is a rapidly mortal wound, and in light of the fact that he was already bleeding, he was more likely than not dead at that point. And by the time she was dragging him down, pulling him down towards this area right here, he didn't need that shot to the head. But she had a gun somewhere. And she got that gun. We don't know the distance. And part of the reason we don't know the distance is because the body's decomposed. But we do know that she put that bullet right in his temple. And that also would have been rapidly fatal.
The prosecution laid out their case. Jodi Arias was a manipulative, jealous, rage-filled liar who murdered Travis because he wanted out of their relationship for good. She knew he had moved on and had found out that he was taking a new romantic interest on a trip with him to Cancun. That on May 28th, the prosecution alleged that Jodi had stolen a .25 caliber gun from her grandparents' home. That on June 2nd, she changed the color of her hair from blonde to dark brown, rented a nondescript-looking car in Redding, California, which was about an hour and a half from where she actually lived in Wairika, and secretly drove to Arizona to murder Travis. That after she murdered him, she then drove on to Utah, where she visited a former coworker who she'd been flirting with. That she had a romantic dalliance with him to establish an alibi, went to a work conference, and then drove home. That she returned her rental car on June 7th, back in California. Jodi's defense argued that this wasn't a premeditated murder, but that she was a victim of domestic violence and that she'd killed Travis in self-defense during a physical altercation which had occurred after she accidentally dropped his expensive camera. A defense witness testified that Jodi Arias suffered from PTSD because of this alleged abuse. However, the prosecution's expert diagnosed Jodi with borderline personality disorder. In a shocking development, Jodi Arias took the stand to testify on her own behalf.
Well, after the gun went off, I thought, oh, crap, because now he's really going to be pissed. I didn't know that I shot him. I thought I shot a hole in the wall or something, and I'm thinking he's really going to be pissed at me now. So now he's telling me he's going to kill me, and I think after he said that, he had almost killed me before,
And what?
There's a lot of that day that I don't remember. There are a lot of gaps. I don't remember the poses of the pictures. I remember them now that I've seen the pictures, but I didn't remember them until I saw them.
You've told us that he said, "Kill you, bitch," and you were underneath him trying to get away.
He said that right after I broke away from him.
Okay, right after you broke away from him. Once you broke away from him, what do you remember?
Almost nothing for a long time. There are some things that have come back over years, but nothing. I don't know if those are things that I'm thinking of from before or if it's that day. It's confusing. There is like a huge gap. Like, I don't know if I blacked out or what. There's a huge gap. And the most clear memory that I have after that point is driving in the desert.
Jodi would be on the stand for a whopping, unbelievable 18 days. And her outfits were straight out of the Plain Jane handbook.
Did you kill Travis Alexander on June 4th, 2008?
Yes, I did.
Why?
The simple answer is that he attacked me, and I defended myself.
It was clear that she derived pleasure having the live stream capture her verbal jabs with prosecutor Juan Martinez, who would ask questions like, if you killed Travis in self-defense, then why did you continue stabbing him and slicing his throat from ear to ear after he was no longer an alleged threat to you?
And you would acknowledge that stabbing was with the knife, right?
Yes.
And according to your version of events, you would acknowledge that stabbing was after the shooting, according to you, right?
I don't remember.
I'm not asking you if you remember, man. I'm asking if you acknowledge that it would be you that did it, correct?
Yes.
And you would acknowledge that a lot of the stab wounds, and if you want, we can count them together, including the ones to the head, were to the back of the head and to the back of the torso, correct?
Okay. I'll count them. I don't know. I'll take your word for it.
Would you like to take a look at the photograph?
No.
So if he is being stabbed in the back, would you acknowledge that, right?
I don't know.
Well, if he's already been shot, according to you, and how could he have possibly be any threat to you?
During this marathon testimony, the prosecutor grilled Jodi Arias about the sexual exchanges and banter that she recorded between herself and Travis Alexander. During this testimony, she was smiling as if she was pleased with herself. Now, a warning, this content is explicit.
You just keep spreading it on as you need it, and you keep sliding around.
It was because it was fun, right?
Yes.
Do you remember that time I came to visit you when I was still living in California? and I fell asleep on your chair next to your bed, and you just like woke me up by pulling my pants off until my but I remember that was hot.
You say you woke me up by pulling my pants off and licking
Yes.
You actually called him Hottie Biscotti, correct?
Yes.
This is you sending him this text message, right?
Yes.
If you're a lucky boy and you promise to give me a good, well-deserved spanking, maybe you could give my a too much needed pounding too. Kidding, correct?
Yes.
And then you said, oh yes, I want to you like a dirty, horny little schoolgirl, right?
Yes.
You did enjoy dressing up for him, right?
Yes.
And throughout the trial, Jodi's attorney, Kirk Nurmi, kept going back to the fact that according to Jodi, she had killed Travis in self-defense.
Chances for premeditation have gone by the wayside, at least from the pictures we saw this morning. I would submit to you that, in fact, Jodi Arias did drop the camera. We have evidence of a picture of the ceiling. Did drop the camera. Travis Alexander did berate her for dropping his camera. The camera he was going to take to Cancun. And while we're thinking of Cancun, we didn't hear it from the state yesterday, but this idea about Cancun and how jealous Jodi would be, right? They talked about, listen to the recording on May 10th, they talked about all these trips they were going to take, all these things. And she told you she knew someone else was going. This wasn't a matter of jealousy, not on her part anyway. But I would submit to you that she did drop the camera. That Travis Alexander did fly into a rage. The kind of rage and kind of anger you've seen in the text messages and in the recordings. That he did threaten her and make her feel as if her life was in jeopardy. Because remember, her perspective on this is that of a battered woman.
After a 4-month trial, Jodi Arias was found guilty of first-degree murder. But remember, this was a death penalty case. Would this jury who found her guilty also sentence her to death? So this first jury was deadlocked. Then a second jury was brought in for the penalty phase, and they also were deadlocked, which meant a judge would decide her fate. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole on April 13th, 2015. Jodi Arias is in the process of appealing her sentence for a second time. She is currently at the Arizona State Prison. Up next, Criminal Mischief bonus content. Here, my co-host Brandon Morgan and I discuss the case in more detail. And as always, thanks for listening. From Pie in the Sky Media, Criminal Mischief is an EVO production, recorded live in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. We're produced by Brandon Morgan and myself. Music by Soundstripe. For EVO Creative, I'm Carolyn Osorio, your writer and host. From Pie in the Sky Media, Criminal Mischief is an EVO production, recorded live in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. We're produced by Brandon Morgan and myself. Music by Soundstripe. For EVO Creative, I'm Carolyn Osorio, your writer and host.